Well, hello there to the GraceKelly Podcast. I'm here with a fantastic guest today, very exciting. This is Mike, who has been doing all the technical stuff. This is his gorgeous, gorgeous studio. Hello, Mike.
Hello, how are you?
Very well. I'm so excited that Mike is actually doing this. I'm going to be interviewing Mike today. He's had the most fantastic, fabulous career on radio, and he's going to be discussing that with us today. Mike, how did you get into radio?
That is a good question. I always wanted to do it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of local radio DJs that inspired me, a guy called Les Ross, who was on BR&B, that I loved to listen to. And it was just an ambition of mine. But it was a few years ago, and in those days, there weren't many stations around. There might be like one BBC station for an area, one commercial station. So it was quite hard. So when I got a bit older, into my sort of late 20s, I thought, if I'm going to do this for real and try and do it for real, I've got to just find any way of getting in. So I gave up my business, and my full-time job was to find a job on radio. And my first job was reading the travel news for the AA. It was AA Roadwatch. It was Mike Roberts' AA Roadwatch.
Oh, I bet that was really exciting.
Yeah, I was scared.
Were you?
Because when I was at school, I was terrible at reading.
Yeah.
I think I'm a little bit dyslexic. And the thought of having to read scripts on the radio like the next day was terrifying. But it gave me confidence, and it got me into the BBC. So I got into a job at the BBC. Firstly, just doing radio car reports, and then onto my own show. So.
And would you write your own scripts?
Yeah, so with the AA, I would ring round the local motorway police and people like that, and they would give you the condition of the road at that time. I think now it's different with everyone's got cameras, haven't they, everywhere?
Yes.
And you'd look at the cameras properly, but in those days you'd ring up the motorway control centre, and they'd say, oh, it's very busy between junction 6 and 7. But that went out to lots of different BBC radio stations, so you'd press a button for WM, and then you press a button for BBC Radio Shropshire and BBC Radio Hereford and Worcester, and you would just connect to their studio, and you'd have a timetable from 4 o'clock, say, in the afternoon, like every 5 or 10 minutes you were doing different stations' travel news.
Oh, fantastic. And was it very buzzy? Did you feel kind of, oh my goodness, I can't believe, because it's live, isn't it?
It's live, and I think it gives you that insight into radio and how it works.
Yeah. And then, timing, you've got to get your time right.
Yeah, and you need to be on time for each station. Then you're trying to make a phone call in between to the local police to find out what's going on. And then you'd have a list of roadworks, and it was very boring, the roadworks and things like that. And then quite often I'd try and make a gag up, if there was a boat that had fallen off a lorry on the M5, I'd say, the boat's been cleared, so it's now plain sailing on the M5 and things like that. And sometimes it got picked up and other times not. But yeah, it was all good fun. And
also to get your voice right for radio, were you good that you drank plenty of water, no alcohol, no coffee, no tea?
No, of course not. In fact, one of the nice things, when I sort of doing it up full time, I used to go and do a Saturday breakfast show for a little station over in Rugby, and it was just a fun thing to do, because I'd go, read the papers, drink coffee, and play music, which all of those things I love doing.
Perfect Saturday.
And you got paid for it as well. And then I was free to go home and have my weekend to myself at 10 o'clock, which is great, really. So, I'd still quite like to do one show a week, but it's just getting around to it, isn't it?
Would you like to do the morning slot?
We could do it together.
We could do, I think, guys, do you think that would be really good? I think we should do a morning thing.
We need to find a radio station that likes us.
Yeah. Is there anyone out there that would like me and Mike to do a radio show for them?
We're cheap, aren't we?
We'd be really good.
Yes.
I think we'd be really, really good.
Well, you sound very posh and I sound a bit rough, so I think that's a nice combination.
Well, I think it's a good combination. So anyone out there, if you want to employ us, that would be fantastic. Have you got any stories of guests that you've interviewed that you had kind of admiration for, that you wanted to interview?
Oh, see, I haven't even thought about this, but there's a couple of people. Annabelle Croft, Annabelle Giles, both
tennis players.
One's a tennis player, one's something else, I think. I don't know. Anyway, I happened to mention to a friend of mine that I was doing an interview with one of those girls, and he said, I've got a funny story about them. He was a cameraman, and he said, I've got a funny story about them. So it was live did the story, and she said, I had no idea what you were talking about because it was the other one. I was referring to the other one, and I just started to go. But I met all sorts of people. I had a really funny story with the Backstreet Boys, who came into the station.
Yeah.
When it was quite a small station, and in those days they would actually go around the stations. I think a lot of time now, the bands will just be in a studio in London somewhere, and it will just go via what was an ISDN line. It's what's happened to everybody now, isn't it, with the internet and broadcast quality phone stuff. Anyway, they didn't really make it at the start, and the first single I thought was great, and I was playing it all the time. Anyway, about 18 months later, they re-released this single, and the guy who was doing the drive time show then at the same station, he said, I've got the Backstreet Boys coming in today. He was so proud of getting the Backstreet Boys in, but he always used to pre-record the interviews, so they were coming in during my show to be pre-recorded in the other studio. Anyway, as soon as they came in, they saw me, that had supported them in the first place. They came in live, and they sort of raided the studio, came in and did this interview live, which completely stole his thunder because he was supposed to be doing it on the drive time show.
Was he really miffed?
He was really miffed.
Yeah.
And he, well, how do you know them? How do you know them? And but there you are.
What were they like? Were they?
I can't remember. I did people like the Spice Girls and other bands of the time, and
I bet they were brilliant.
I don't even remember because there was literally you doing one every day.
Yeah.
And in those days, there wasn't. I found really old, don't I? There wasn't a thing like digital photography.
No.
So I've just found some stuff in my loft when I moved house that somebody had actually sent me some photographs on, proper photographs with negatives and things. Just think if that was now, you'd have a picture with all these people, and it would give you those memories. But I've got boxes of cassette tapes and reel-to-reel tapes and stuff that one day I perhaps will listen to.
Yeah, you should do.
And it was great fun in those days because the jingles were on like an 8-track cartridge.
Yes.
So, and all the adverts were on 8-track cartridges.
Yeah.
So you'd have to load up all the jingle machines with the ads and stuff like that.
Where now you don't have to do that at all.
It's all computerised, isn't it? It's too easy.
It's too easy.
They've taken the skill out of everything.
They have taken the skill. We need to get back to the old days. Do you agree? I do. I think... especially with photographs. Do you remember going like to the Kodak shop or to the Pronto Print and you used to print out, and it just had a nice feeling, where now it's all on my phone.
Yeah.
I don't think I've printed out photographs for a good 2 years.
But in those days, you take away, you send your film away, wouldn't you? And you get your 36 snaps back.
Yeah.
And like 30 of them would be useless, wouldn't they?
Absolutely useless. Where now everything has to be perfect.
Yeah, and you just delete the ones you don't want, you delete it.
Delete, put a filter on. I don't normally use a filter. Do you use filter?
No, I wouldn't know how to be honest.
No, and same here.
And these Google phones now, you can actually change the face on people, can't you, to get the best shot. It's like...
But also, I think people's imperfections, or when people say, "Oh, I've got an imperfection," that's part of them. So yes. I think you should keep it in.
And also, I think radio in particular, they used to say to me, because I went on this BBC radio training course, and they said, radio's like TV, but the pictures are better.
Yes.
Because it's people's own mind of what they're perceiving you to be, or the person you're interviewing.
Yes.
Or when I was doing reports, I'd try and start with a noise, if it's a tractor or whatever was going on in the background.
Yeah.
You'd start with that.
Yes.
Atmos, So I think, in terms of radio, and also you had that anonymity that nobody knew who you were, but you were actually being listened to by...
Yes.
Thousands of people.
So also there's that little bit of magic that you don't actually get from TV.
Yeah.
And then you build up that kind of perception of that person, and that person, that whole perception, as if you know them a bit more than you would
definitely
on TV.
Yeah, I think so. And also I think this craze of putting TV people on the radio when they're not very good at radio is there's a lot of people I just don't like because they're on because they're famous, not because they're actually a good broadcaster.
So who would you say is a good broadcaster?
Oh, that is a good question. There are people, I like the guy who does Radio 1 Breakfast now, like Greg James, Scott Mills, Chris Evans, Chris Moyles. They're all, good broadcasters.
Yes.
In their own way, all of them have got skills. And I used to, when Chris Moyles first came on Radio 1, I wasn't convinced about him. But actually, if you listen to it, it sounded like, and Steve Wright, of course, Steve Wright was...
The late Steve Wright, he was brilliant.
Great. It sounded very chaotic and actually not planned, but actually it was meticulously planned. A record would end, and the pips would be there. It was perfect timing, although it sounded like it was chaotic. And I think that's a skill of making something sound like it's relaxed, but actually it's making it look easy, basically, or sound easy.
Like I like listening to Virgin Radio, so Chris Evans and Vassos, and you've got Rachel reading the news, and you think it's all chaotic, but they've planned it so well, and the timing and how they interview and everything, and he's really, really bubbly and everything. It just works and flows. So I'm with you on that, and I used to love the late Steve.
Steve Wright.
Steve Wright, yeah. I just loved his shows,
especially
like the afternoon. I just thought his, and also the drive time, and also do you remember Simon Mayo?
Yeah, Simon Mayo's really good.
He was fantastic as well. I think he was from around here.
He was, yeah. I loved Johnny Walker as well.
And Johnny Walker.
And the other day I had a road trip. I went to see Mark Cohen in a chapel in London.
Yeah.
And I was sitting next to Bob Harris. Oh, that was great.
Oh my goodness.
I love Bob Harris. His voice is amazing.
His voice is brilliant.
And he's such a nice guy. And I said to him, I don't really know you, but I used to be in radio, and we got to chat. And in the end, we chatted for so long. I said, "Look, I've got to go because I've got a tube train to catch to get my train home." But he was so friendly and so nice. And he's in his 70s and just such a great broadcaster. And
great broadcaster.
Johnny Walker, also from Solihull Way as well.
Was he? I didn't realise that.
Johnny Walker, yeah, that's quite a few.
And also,
just me that didn't make it.
You did make it. You did make it. Success. And also Sarah Kennedy. She was absolutely lovely because she was just before Wogan, and our family wrote to her because we were doing a breast cancer luncheon, and we wrote to her thinking we won't hear anything. And she rang my mum and said, "No, definitely, I'll speak at your lunch." And
Fantastic.
She was absolutely lovely, really, really lovely. But I would have loved to have met Sir Terry Wogan.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he was fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't listen to Radio 2 in those days, so I didn't really catch him much.
No.
I wasn't the biggest fan, the bits I did hear, because I always thought he was... What I didn't like about his broadcast... People are going to hate me now, aren't they? Because
No.
talking about a broadcasting legend here, that I would see... He would say something on an intro, then there'd be a pause, then he'd think of something else to say, and I just think it didn't always...
It didn't flow.
But that's his style, I suppose.
Yes.
I was always taught, sort of one thought.
And you've just got to keep it going.
Yeah, and I suppose I was a little bit old-fashioned in the way that I would like to talk up to a record's vocal and stuff like that.
Yes.
It's quite old-fashioned.
And what about Noel Edmonds?
Noel Edmonds, yeah, a good broadcaster. I was working at the BBC in Pebble Mill when actually he arrived in his helicopter once.
Really?
In the back, yeah.
He didn't have Mr. Blobby in there. Do you remember Mr. Blobby?
No, I could have got that job, couldn't I?
No, not at all.
I've got a big stomach and I don't like being English.
Mike hasn't got a big stomach.
Yeah.
What it is, he looks like a rugby player, so he looks very strong and sporty. That's all it is. You've got a lovely body.
Thank you.
Not that I've seen it. My God, I'm just saying, like he looks great. So your ideal now would be morning, but not too early. Not like the.
I'd say I don't mind a weekend breakfast. A weekend breakfast because then you're away by 10 o'clock. So if you can get us a nice national gig that pays well.
That would be
weekend
great.
breakfast, or mid-morning at a push.
Yes, weekend breakfast. Anyone out there? We're here. Also, I like Graham Norton.
Oh yeah, Graham Norton, great interview, and Jonathan Ross, Claudia Winkleman.
Yes,
fantastic at interviewing
Claudia's
people.
brilliant.
Yeah, and very, very bright, very clever girl.
Very bright, very clever,
quick-witted.
Very, very quick-witted, and also her and Sally Bozeman.
Yes, Sally.
Sally. You see, I don't know what Sally looks like at all. I just think she's this like blonde, lush.
Yeah.
I mean, she could have dark hair. Only because I've got blonde hair. I think everyone's got blonde hair. But you've got very distinguished grey hair.
Yes.
Mike's got very distinguished. I do think, Mike, grey on a man looks lovely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that.
Thank you.
Do you think grey on a woman? Do you like women with grey hair?
No, I'm not sure it goes for women. I quite like dark hair on a woman.
But what about...
Sorry.
Well,
but, I used to be... My ex-wife used to be blonde, so...
Oh my gosh. Did she?
Yeah.
But I do like how Judi Dench... You see, she looks lovely with grey hair.
Yes.
So some people can carry it off.
I was down her neck of the woods last week, down in Zena in Cornwall. I think hasn't she got a place down there?
She's got a place in Cornwall.
Yeah.
But she was from around here originally, I think.
So.
I think she used to live with her late husband, Charcote Park, near there.
Oh, okay.
I mean, not the Charcote Park, but somewhere around there.
Mm.
But she's yes. And will you be doing the Stratford Parade, the Shakespeare lunch or anything? Because it's coming up to Shakespeare's birthday.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Are you into Shakespeare or plays or anything?
No, I never understood the question. Will Shakespeare?
Will she?
Will he?
But that's like a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't actually understand that language.
No, I haven't been. Isn't it funny how you live on the doorstep? Certainly in my case,
Yeah.
live on the doorstep of the RSC in Warwick Castle and Kenilworth Castle, and hardly ever go. It's terrible, isn't it?
But have you been to Warwick Castle?
I have been to Warwick Castle.
Have you been to the dungeons?
No, I haven't actually.
See, that might be a good radio show to do in the dungeon.
Yeah.
At night time.
What are you trying to get me into?
What
I
was
think I need
that
locking up. People say I need locking up.
What was that person that used to go round, and she used to be on Blue Peter, and she used to have her own show?
You think about Annika Rice?
Not Annika Rice. Annika Rice, that's coming back, isn't it? Challenge Annika.
Yes.
The other one, I can't think, but she used to find ghosts.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know who you mean now. No, I can't think of a name.
I can't think of her name now, but she
Yvette,
used to.
somebody?
Yvette Fielding.
There we go.
Guys, do you remember Yvette Fielding? She used to be on the BBC. She used to do Blue Peter as well, didn't she?
Yeah. See, when I was a kid, I used to quite fantasize about being a Blue Peter presenter.
Oh,
but
my
I couldn't,
God.
But I couldn't swim, and I thought, I couldn't do that.
And also, don't you have to climb ladders? I'm not
Probably.
very good. Even doing the step ladder, guys at work will know this. I get vertigo. I fall.
So you've been no good on my other podcast then, on my aviation podcast.
No, I do want to do. Yes, I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Mike, can you talk to me about your aviation as well? Have I said it right? Aviation.
Was aviation?
Yes,
Well,
aviation.
yes. So we haven't really got it going properly because
But he
it's
should.
always a bit about time. But I do a YouTube podcast where we interview people in the air. So
That's fantastic.
it's basically on the air, in the air. So it's, if you sort of mean.
Yes, I do. So, but if you think about it, you're flying a plane.
Yes.
You've got to do all of that, the controls, but you're also asking questions.
Yes, well, like twiddling knobs, you see. It's like twiddling things.
But that just goes to show how clever you are.
Well, that's very kind.
And your mind.
Yes.
So
there's some nice people on there. So talking of DJs, there's a guy called Will Manning who does the chart show across the country.
Yeah.
For the Capital Network. So he's also a pilot. So I've interviewed him. The winner of The Voice, Molly Hocking, from a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Lovely girl, lives in Cornwall. We did a tour around Cornwall with her. There's people like Grant Shapps, the MP. Guy from Can't Pay Will Take It Away, Paul Bowhill.
If you haven't watched that programme, it's my hubby's favourite. Can't Pay, Take It Away. Absolutely fantastic. They filmed around here as well, I think, sometimes.
Yes.
Watch out for them. It's absolutely brilliant. Is it on Channel 5?
It's 4 or 5.
It's
one of
4 or
those.
5,
Yeah.
but watch it. If you can't, if it's not on now, go on YouTube. But it's absolutely fantastic.
So if you look up Take Flight Aviation and go to the cockpit conversations, that's where you'll find all the links to various things, and also a couple of world records that I've done in the plane as well, which I don't talk about, obviously.
But also, when you're watching it, you're very, very calm, very relaxed. I mean, of course, you have to be.
I find it quite relaxing though, flying, because it's one of those hobbies where you can't really think about too much else, except when I'm interviewing people.
Yeah.
Because you're concentrating on flying the plane and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you ever
quite
get
relaxing.
lost?
No, well, the sat-nav stuff is so good now.
Oh, is it?
In the old days, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
In sort of pre iPads and stuff, when I was having to do it on the map, I was hopeless.
Really?
Absolutely hopeless, yeah.
But it's not like a car that you have to like reverse. And
No, we can't stop. I was saying it's actually quite easy. Flying's like, it's like driving, but there's less to hit.
Yeah.
But normally if you do hit something, it's more serious. That's the problem.
So is that why you have all timings to go? Because you could bump into other people up there? Has that ever happened?
Quite a lot of airspace is actually uncontrolled, so you just go where you want. But there are
Yes.
areas of airspace, like around big airports, that you can't go to without permission, or indeed high level, where the airliners go. Obviously, restrictions to go in there.
Oh, is it?
So if you can imagine, if you're flying into an airport, it's like an upside down wedding cake.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes.
So low down, you can't. No one can go there without permission. So 1,000 feet, you'd have to get permission. From 4 miles out. 5,000 feet, you might have to get permission from 20 miles out. That sort of thing. So you have to be careful not to do that, because it's in a small plane, it causes all sorts of problems for big planes if you start going into their airspace.
But do you sometimes, is there like a daredevil in you that thinks, oh, I want to try that?
Well, no,
Sorry,
well,
it's just, it's like that button that everyone says don't press.
Yes.
I always want to press that
Oh,
button.
we used to have a button like that, the radio station. And all it did was go on a counter for the engineers to count how many people pressed it.
Yeah.
Do not press this button.
I want to press it.
But most airports, with the exception of Heathrow, you can go into in a small plane. It just gets very expensive.
Yeah.
So I've been into Gatwick, Birmingham, Luton, all those in the
Well, I suppose that's how celebrities travel, isn't it? They've got their own private
Thank
jets.
you very much, yeah. Well, it's not quite a private jet, but, you know.
Yeah, but you could travel people around.
Well, you need a commercial...
And to the interview, you could have the Beckhams.
Yeah, you need a commercial licence for that. But what I do, is because it's just for fun, it's I don't need a commercial licence.
So if you had to choose, would you say radio or aviation?
That is a hard one, because I think my aviation sort of career took over from because I ran a flying club for a while. It took over from the radio. So, sort of, I always had the property background, hence why we've got the podcasting studio here in Henley. So when I was doing radio, the property business was actually in the background, building that up as well. Because unless you're on national radio, the money in radio is hopeless. Yeah, so I think, the aviation has taken over from the radio, but then I've tried to bring the two together by doing the interviews in the plane. So so I've sort of...
and also you do have a voice for radio.
Not the face, not the face for TV, but the voice for radio.
He does have a face as well. Well, of course he does have a face, but your voice is very distinct.
Oh, thank you.
So I think
it's a bit Midland for some stations.
I don't think it is.
No, okay.
I don't think it is.
Okay. That's good.
I think national. I think now national people want different regional accents as well.
Yeah, well, I think nowadays they do. 20 odd years ago, they didn't. That was the problem.
So when you were on 20 years ago, did you have to put on a different accent? Like, oh, hello.
No, because I was always based around, I think I probably, if there was a world record for it, I could get the world record for being sacked by the most stations in the West Midlands, because I went down so many of the stations. So, but because I was always Midlands based and wanted to stay by my family and stuff like that, it was I was always around here. But I did go for other jobs, and a couple of times people would say specifically they don't like Midland accents around here. So that's the only reason why we're not considering you for the job.
Really?
And also in Scotland, they said they don't like English accents in Scotland on the radio. You couldn't do that here. You couldn't do that in England.
You couldn't do that.
I'm not having you, you're Scottish.
No.
So,
oh my God.
But I think things have changed.
Yeah,
over the
I think
years.
they have.
Yeah.
Because like on all radio stations now, you hear all different accents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get people like Adrian Charles, who's from the local radio here, who's gone on to national stuff. So a Brummie accent isn't quite so bad now, but it doesn't make you sound intelligent, does it? A Birmingham accent or a Midland accent?
I like it though. I like all accents.
It's a nice accent, and I think it's the same with Liverpudlian as well. Yeah. You get a professor who's Liverpudlian. Do you trust what they're saying? I don't know.
I trust everybody. But what was I going to say? No, I think accents make you, don't they?
Yeah.
You don't want everyone sounding the same.
No, but you've got a very neutral, posh English accent, haven't you? So you can say that because you're posh.
I just did lots of drama.
Oh, well, that's,
It just did lots of drama.
You could alliterate and things like that.
Yes, but my drama teacher used to say my diction needs to be a lot stronger.
Okay.
So we used to have to say lips, the teeth, the tip of the tongue. So when you go on, that's what I'm saying, did you used to have to get your... No, you didn't do any practice. No,
I was very much a show and go. I sort of arrive just before the show and then go afterwards.
Then just go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, we used to have to do like a red lorry, yellow lorry really quickly. Yeah. Before we did it, because I used to enter drama festivals, and so we used to have to do all of that before you perform.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So no, I'm afraid not.
No,
the most important thing was getting a coffee and...
But you see, you've just got... You're naturally gifted, so you don't have to do any of that.
Yeah, well, thank you. It was just a nice thing to do, and I'm so glad I did it, because I'm sure I could be very wealthy if I'd stuck with the business I had at the time, but I literally gave up a fairly decent business and sold it to do the radio. And to go from that to reading travel news, some people thought, what the heck is
but also you were doing your passion.
Yeah.
And I think in life you have to follow your dream, and also it's no good just having a dream, you've got to have the goal as well.
Yeah.
And you did do that.
Yeah.
So you can always look back and think, I did that.
Yeah.
And also you will be having another radio show.
Well,
won't we?
That's possible. But yeah, more or less 10 years full time and a good few years part time as well. So yeah, I did. Yeah, it was good.
You did do it.
It was great. Great fun.
Because a lot of people in life talk about things, but they don't do it. So you've done both of those things.
Yep.
And also you took the plunge and just,
did it.
Yeah. Which a lot of people, they don't. They talk about it. Everyone can talk a good game.
That's true. And you're doing it now with your podcast.
I'm doing it now with this podcast. So anyone, please keep watching my podcast.
Yeah, I'm sorry you've not had the best of guests today.
You know what? I've had the best guest, honestly, because Mike's really inspired me. One, he's allowed me to be in his gorgeous studio, and also talk about his great career. And also the career is keeping on going. I don't think you ever stop. Whatever age you are, you don't stop.
No. And you asked me when I did my last show, and I can't even remember because it probably was, I don't know, must be getting over 10 years ago now at least, when I did my last radio show. But
so there's time for another show.
There is indeed. There is indeed. And anybody who wants to go podcasting, we must tell them about the podcasting studio.
Yes, anyone that wants to come podcasting, you must come to this beautiful studio. It's absolutely gorgeous in Henley and Arden.
Yeah, it's called Studio 50 and it's at 50 High Street.
Yes.
And if you Google Studio 50 or Mike Roberts Property or 50 High Street, you'll find it.
You'll find it. So, Mike, I might do another little interview with you, if that's okay.
Oh, wow. What's this for now?
Well, we'll just have a nice little chat about other things, about life in general.
Is that when you can't find another guest?
No, not at all. Mike's my first guest, and we'd just like to say I'm sending lots of love to Kelly. Kelly came into the shop yesterday without a boot on, which was brilliant. So she's doing fantastic.
A Louis Vuitton.
Yes, she did. She was bouncing around, but she can't wait to come back into the studio soon. But thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you very soon with a lovely Mike as well. Bye for now. Bye.